Hey guys, I'm SimpleSimon and welcome back to Simple Japan. So far in this series, you would have seen all the things that we got to experience just on our first day in Japan. But day 2 is upon us. In this episode, Sarah and I visit Shibuya and we get to experience our first Pokemon Center. We go record hunting at the famous Tower Records. My search for Street Fighter collectibles continues at the Capcom Store. And we visit many more stores in Shibuya. This episode is jam-packed full of awesome places, but before we get started, if you guys collect comic books, trading cards, vinyl, or any other types of physical media, check out my channel sponsors, Defender Hobby Supplies, and get 10% off store-wide at Collectors Hub when you use my affiliate link in the video description, along with a discount code. Get ready for Simple Japan, Episode 3. Quick shout out to my Minions, your support means the world, and if you want exclusive members only videos and exclusive emojis, hit the join button to find out more, but always remember your membership is not required. The best way to support the channel is by liking and commenting on videos. Alright, so it was day 2 of our trip and we were super excited. We planned a huge day out in Shibuya and it was forecast to rain for almost our entire trip. But the day couldn't have been more beautiful. Alright, we're in Shibuya. And it is crazy here today. But we got a lot of places we're going to go to. We're going to go to the Capcom shop. We're going to go to the Nintendo store. We're going to go to the Pokemon... What's the Pokemon store called? Center? Pokemon Center. This is probably going to be a multi-part video today, so yeah, I'm excited. So I'm going to try to fit in as much of this day as possible in this video. This is us crossing the famous Shibuya crossing for the first time. As you can see, it's very busy, a lot of people, everyone's filming on their phones. It's pretty standard procedure. It was pretty surreal, to be honest, walking across something you've seen so many times in other videos. Now, on this day, we had planned to go to the Pokemon Center as well as the Capcom Store, which happens to be in the same building. And from here, we planned to go for a walk to Harajuku. It's about a 20-25 minute walk to go to a few shops down there as well. But little did we know that we were going to run into so many stores, like our first of many Disney stores. We also stopped past the famous Tower Records, so get ready to see an onslaught of shops here in Shibuya. We're going to get some food first. Sarah wants some comfort food, and when I say comfort food, she wants something that makes her feel at home. And we just spotted somewhere that makes her feel at home. So Guzman y Gomez is a Mexican fast food place that we also have back home in Australia, but unfortunately it didn't open till 11. Now, while the Pokemon Center and Nintendo stores were open, the shopping center where you find them at was actually closed. So we found the back way to get upstairs to the Pokemon Center while everyone else waited out the front for the shopping center to open. I spotted a Pop Mart while I was there and tried to walk through this door, which clearly has a sign that says this door does not open. Now, Pop Mart was definitely a place we want to check out, well, Sarah more in particular. And since that stupid door didn't open, we thought we'd keep walking up until we got to the doors that did open. And just like that, we were inside the Nintendo store. So the main reason we came here was because I wanted to see the Capcom Store and Sarah wanted to go to the Pokemon Center. Obviously, any fans of Pokemon would want to come here. Now, the Pokemon Design Lab was actually a little section where you could design your own Pokemon t-shirt, which is very cool. But there's big lines for it and a bit of a wait time. Now, if you're a Pokemon noob like me, they've even got information about Pokemon on the pillars here, so you can learn about Pokemon. What better place to start your Pokemon journey than at the Pokemon Center? In fact, bring another one of your friends and you can journey together. So obviously, being in the Pokemon Center, there was Pokemon everything from food to the things that you eat your food with to the things that you wash the things that you use to eat your things with. This dude here was super excited because it was his turn to create his shirt. Hey, it's Niauha. If you collect plushies at all and you like Pokemon, then your wallet is in some serious trouble when you come here because they've got pretty much every Pokemon you can think of. I believe these walls and walls of Pokemon plushies had a lot of the more rare ones that you don't often get. You know, the ones that aren't as mainstream, like my popular buddy Psyduck here. And another thing that was kind of cool about the timing of our trip was the new Pokemon game was soon to release while we were up in Japan. So we do get to visit another Pokemon Center on the day of release. So you get to see what a Pokemon Center is like the day of a big game release. And being that this was the first Pokemon Center that we got to visit, I actually had no idea how big a part the Pokemon Centers would play in our trip. This was the first of, I believe we went to 8 different Pokemon Centers in total. So if you've always wanted to go to the Pokemon Centers and you want to see what they look like and what to expect, that's a good reason to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you never miss a video. If you collect Pokemon cards, as if you don't want to buy accessories for your cards from the Pokemon Center. Now, while you may be thinking that all the Pokemon Centers are going to be the same, well, they're not. They all have different layouts. They all have different exclusives to the stores. There obviously is a lot of the same stuff as well, but Sarah, I think, bought something at almost every Pokemon Center that we visited. But also, be prepared to stand in line for a while. Alright, we survived the Pokemon line. Let's go over here with the Pokemon. We haven't actually eaten yet because everything doesn't open till 11, so we're gonna go get some food now. Hey, check it out, it's Nyauha. And then we'll come back, we'll go to the Capcom shop and have a look through the Nintendo store as well. Speaking of Nyauha, I bought a Nyauha for Sarah. For Sarah, I swear. Now for those watching this video series and thinking, man, I would love to go to Japan, I've never been. Well, lucky you, because in 2026, the Poke Park is coming, and that's a pretty good reason for us to go back. And for you to go for the first time. So we hit the streets again and we headed back to Guzman y Gomez, and we had Japanese Mexican fast food for the first time. It tasted very, very similar to back home, except the rice was a little bit more Japanese. That's my review on Japanese Guzman. Alright, we're about to go into Tower Records, which I'm assuming is a huge record store. It was on my list of places to go, so we're gonna have a look. And also, Sarah's got like a Grail vinyl and we're hoping to find it. Your Name soundtrack, let's go! Alright, so we spent quite a bit of time inside Tower Records. So the biggest portion of this video is spent inside this store, but just so you know, there's still 7 more stores that we visit after this. So buckle up, but there was just so much cool stuff to see inside Tower Records. Like, look at these cool anime Studio Ghibli soundtracks on vinyl. I'm not even a Studio Ghibli guy, but I can appreciate how cool these records are. And of course, they also had records from the biggest pop stars in the world like Tay-Tay and Sabrina Carpenter. And check out these super cool Tower Records own compilations on vinyl. That is super awesome. They even had a manga wall at this record store. How crazy is that? Oh, and did I mention that this tower was 8 or even 9 stories high? It truly is a music lover's paradise. Now, all these awesome anime vinyl covers were giving us hope that we may find what we were looking for. If you ask Sarah what her favorite movie is, she'll tell you that it's an anime movie called Your Name, and she was after the soundtrack on vinyl. We knew it wasn't going to be an easy task because Sarah did say it is an older record, and every time she's seen it for sale, mostly on eBay, it goes for big bucks. So that was the mission, that was the hunt, but it was easy to get distracted in here by so much awesome stuff. You would see imagery of like legends of rock and roll and metal like Ozzy there, and right beside it would be super famous Japanese bands that you would probably never heard of. Their metal section was very impressive as well. Now, something I noticed was they usually keep the Western metal music in a separate section to the Japanese metal music. They had some famous hands on display there. Ooh, and they had a massive cassette section. These are those Tower Records compilations from before, and I had no idea that all your huge famous pop stars that are famous worldwide release their latest albums on cassette. I knew it was like a trendy thing to do in smaller local bands, but I had no idea that the biggest artists in the world still released their new albums on cassette. That was crazy. Like, look at all these cassettes. They even had classics in there as well. Got some old school punk rock albums from the Dead Boys. And I remember when I was a little kid, I picked up this Prince cassette and I asked one of my brothers, why is he naked? And my brother's answer was, because he's a weirdo. So for almost my entire adolescence, I always thought Prince is that weirdo. But anyway, the hunt for the Your Name soundtrack continued. Now we knew we had to find it potentially in a soundtrack section. And they did indeed have a vinyl soundtrack section. So that's where we were headed. And as I was flicking through all these soundtracks, I realized they were all Hollywood movies. Now Your Name was firstly an anime, and secondly, most likely found in the Japanese soundtracks. Ooh, look at this banger right there. I wish I had bought that. Hey, it's Totoro. Now we're on the right track. So while Sarah flicked through all the Japanese anime soundtracks, I was looking through the Japanese punk section. So I actually have quite a large collection of Japanese punk records in my vinyl collection. I used to love so many Japanese punk bands back in the day. That's the one thing I've always loved about Japanese culture. No matter what the subculture is or hobby, Japanese people would always take their love for that subculture or hobby to the next level. They just did it with so much passion and so much love. Here's the non-Japanese punk section, which was much bigger than the Japanese punk section. And this album here is an absolute banger. Loudness, I've actually got that on record too. And I don't care what you say or think about the way these guys looked back then, but to me, those guys look tough as nails. So back to Your Name. Turns out this dude, Radwimps, is actually the guy who did the music for Your Name, and there's the album right there. Now this Radwimps dude must be pretty big in Japan because he even had a little screen in his CD section, and the hunt was on who could find the album first, and I won by a mile. Unfortunately, the vinyl has actually been out of print for a while, so they did only have the CD, but that was a win for us. Well, for Sarah more so, but I'm still happy that she found it. So we spent a little bit more time looking through the vinyl section, looking at all the things that we had never seen before. There was so much of it. I highly recommend going to Tower Records if you're in Shibuya. There was a few other Tower Records we went past on our trip in Japan, but this was the only one we actually stopped into, and by far the biggest. And we did purchase a few things from there, but I will show you that at the end of this video. But now it was time to head back to the Parco shopping center to check out the rest of the stores that we didn't see. We did have a quick stop off at Nintendo. Now, I didn't get a lot of footage of this Nintendo store, but we do visit quite a few Nintendo stores while we're in Japan, so you will get a bit more in-depth look at some of the other ones, but we were in a hurry to get to some of the other places, plus we had a lot planned for this day. There are still so many places that we go to in this episode alone. Alright, we're about to the Capcom shop, and I am very excited. Capcom. Alright, so the Capcom store was somewhere I was very excited to go to for obvious reasons, but for those who are newer to the channel who don't know, Street Fighter is my thing right now. The funny thing though is, people think that I love Street Fighter, so I know everything about it. I really don't. I'm really a Street Fighter 2 guy. Street Fighter 2 is just nostalgia for me. I was there for the big boom in the 90s, and if you weren't there, if you did not experience the arcade scene in the 90s, you have no idea how big that game got. When I was like, I don't know, 11 or 12, I was like owning all the big kids. I was like the king of the arcade at the video stores. But as I got older, I kind of got into different games, so I kind of moved away from fighting games, so I didn't really get to experience Street Fighter 4 and 5 and things like that, so my knowledge really is more Street Fighter 2, like Chun-Li there. I do know some of the newer characters, like I did buy Street Fighter 6 since I got into Street Fighter again, but anyway, the reason I was excited to go to the Capcom shop was to see all these Street Fighter collectibles and merch you could get, and I'm not gonna lie, this was actually a really big disappointment and letdown when it came to Street Fighter collectibles and merch. there really wasn't what I was hoping for. Like, I don't want to smell like a Street Fighter. I was really hoping for a much bigger range of t-shirts and maybe figures and collectibles. There was a couple of statues, but there really wasn't a lot that impressed me there. Now, who can tell me who this cute character is? Because I had no idea and it was all over the shop. Of course, Capcom do make other games, but really, I haven't been that much of a gamer in the past. Since PS3, really, was probably the last console I would say that I played a lot of games. Ever since then, I kind of just dabble when there's a game I want to play, so my knowledge on gaming is not fantastic. I know Monster Hunter here is a super popular title though, and there was plenty on show for Monster Hunter fans. So my Capcom Store experience was a little bit underwhelming. I was really hoping for cooler things for me to go home with, like if this character was a Street Fighter character, I would have been stoked. But little did I know that this was not the only Capcom Store I would visit on this trip. So we were done at the Capcom Store, and when we walked out, I had no idea that this entire level was filled with awesome stores like the Godzilla store, which is coming up next. I knew Godzilla was popular in Japan, but he is literally a celebrity in his own right. And if you are a Godzilla fan, there is so much stuff to look at here. And I actually had no idea while I was here that most of these shops aren't a one-of. We actually stopped past a few Godzilla stores on this trip, a couple of Capcom stores, and a heap of Pokemon centers. And every time you see one of these places, it's worth stopping in. And while I was in this Godzilla store, I turned to my right and noticed, holy crap, a Sega store? That's unheard of! Let's go there. So a Nintendo store doesn't surprise me, Nintendo World doesn't surprise me, but a Sega store really surprised me because Sega is nowhere near as big as they used to be, but back in the day, they were huge. They were going head to head with Nintendo. In fact, back in the day when I was a teenager, there used to be a Sega World in Sydney, Australia. Unfortunately, I never got to visit because by the time I got there, it had just closed down, but here's a photo of me with Sonic after the park had already closed. How cool do I look though? And again, for those who don't know, I grew up as a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan. I was really into his comic books on Archie back when I was growing up, and Sonic was a huge part of my life when I was a kid. But Sega are now more known for their games than their consoles. Look at that gun, that looks so damn real. And the store was separated into sections, all headlined by their biggest titles, but Sonic the Hedgehog was definitely the star of the store. This is what I was expecting from the Capcom shop. They had a ton of Sonic collectibles, including exclusives like these of Sonic at Mount Fuji and other popular Japanese destinations. That was really cool stuff. That's what I wanted from the Capcom store. They also had a ton of stuff from the game, I think it's Yakuza, another popular title, and they had even ramen bowls. I wish I could have brought a ramen bowl back from Japan, but I was a little bit too scared to transport it. And then right next door to the Sega shop was the JoJo World for fans of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Now, we didn't actually go into JoJo World. It was very busy and neither Sarah or I are fans of JoJo. So yeah, we skipped that one, but it is there for you JoJo fans. We did go to the Jump Shop though, which is another anime store. They've got a Luffy statue at the front, which is a popular photo site. One Piece is definitely an anime title which has shot itself into mainstream popularity, but this wasn't just a One Piece store, this was an anime, I guess, slash manga store. Sorry, manga store. But there was actually a specialized One Piece store that you can find in Japan as well, and I believe I do come across some of those later in the trip. Oh, we also came across our first coin machine. So these machines you find at different locations where they create a collectible coin for you on the spot. You put in your money, you choose which one you want, and it actually presses the coin for you in the machine. So a cool little collectible souvenir to take home with you, and Sarah actually collects coins, so she was quite excited for this. And this was the first of a few coins that she picked up, and I learned that my camera is terrible for close-ups. So that was the first Jump Shop that we got to visit on this trip. Definitely a cool place for any anime and manga fans. And next, Sarah and I want to check out Pop Mart. But it turns out in Japan, you can't just walk into Pop Mart. you have to win a raffle just to walk into the shop, which is a little bit ridiculous. So we bypassed that and we came across the Doraemon store. Now, I don't know a lot about Doraemon. All I know is I think he's a cat. He's got a big fat blue head and he's a Japanese icon. He's everywhere. And he's pretty cute. So I'm down to check out some Doraemon. You know me and cats. Any type of cat has my love and respect. Check out that cool cat in the mirror. Next, we stumbled across a Caseify store. Now, I was already planning on visiting Caseify. We just didn't know there was a Caseify in this shopping complex as well. Just before our trip, I did buy a brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I was planning on buying a case for it while I was in Japan, and Caseify was definitely one of the stores that I wanted to go to. I didn't buy anything just yet though, because there was also another store called Case Space in Harajuku that I want to check out later that same day. And then next, we went to this store next, also known as the Medicom Toy Store. Now, we were only on day 2 of our trip, but this store took over the top spot on my list of favorite stores that I'd been to so far on this trip, because Medicom happened to be the creators of my favorite action figure brand, Mafex. I was pretty much standing inside the Mafex store. Plus, it was just so beautifully presented and displayed. There was just a really good vibe inside the shop. I was having a great time, and if you've been following closely, you'll know I'm specifically hunting for the Harley Quinn Mafex figure from the Hush Batman line. There's the Hush figures there. They got Poison Ivy, they've got Huntress, no Harley Quinn. So this was the second store I'd come across that had a great range of Mafex DC figures. They had a great range of the Batman Hush line even, but both stores didn't even have the Harley Quinn on display. So I started to wonder if I was ever gonna find this figure. I was getting some serious FOMO. Now, for non-action figure collectors who are wondering what's so good about this brand, Simon, well, not only do they look fantastic, but when it comes to a great figure, it's not just about its looks. It's about how well can it articulate, what kind of poses can you do. The figure has to be practical as well. And I think Mafex do the best job at ticking all the boxes. They also had a huge range of bear bricks, so I'm assuming that Medicom might be behind creating these as well, which are also highly collectible. I can't say I know anyone who really collects them, but I know they're very popular. They even got mini ones, and I saw some of these mini ones going secondhand for big bucks. Got a cool Pac-Man bowl there, so I was very happy that we came across this store. It wasn't part of the plan, but it definitely made my day. And even though I couldn't find the Harley Quinn that I was after, I did manage to find something that I've been after for a while, so I was happy. And then onto the next store. So this is the first of many Disney stores that we got to visit, and this one was by far the coolest. None of the other ones had a shop front quite like this, and inside was quite magical. Now, just like a lot of the other stores we'd visited on this day, each Disney store is different. No two are the same. They all have their own unique layout. But this was the only Disney store where I happened to spot the White Rabbit. And the Matrix taught me to always follow the White Rabbit. So we're about to go deep up the rabbit hole. Now keep your eyes on the right wall there. I'm pretty certain I saw some magic just shoot across that wall. So this Disney store was 3 levels from memory, and each level was as magical as the next. They really put a lot of time and effort and thought into the way they presented each level. You were really immersed inside the world of Disney, and this top level had some great displays as well. You got Nightmare Before Christmas here, which is very popular, and Pinocchio was definitely one of my favorites as a kid. And of course, last but not least, you've got the Alien Earth set. is about as tourist as it gets right now. Look at this. Crazy. So just some of the things we picked up on this day. We ended up grabbing one of the Tower Records vinyls, which is a compilation, an eclectic mix of Japanese tracks. It came on a beautiful yellow vinyl, and we also picked up a Tower Records turntable mat to remember this awesome day at Tower Records. And while we couldn't find the Your Name soundtrack on vinyl, Sarah was more than happy to pick it up on CD. From the Sega store, I picked up a Sonic plushie for myself and a Knuckles for Sarah. Look how cute these guys are. And then from the Medicom store, I ended up picking up the John Wick Mafex figure. It's a figure I've had on my watch list on eBay for a long time, and it is an absolute banger of an action figure. Next time on Simple Japan, there was one store in Shibuya that we visited that I didn't actually show you, and that was Mandarake. So Mandarake is actually a very famous secondhand collectible store in Japan. They're all over the place, and I visit quite a number of them during my trip. This was the first of many Mandarakes, and each of the Mandarake stores that I visit, I want to give it its own episode. So it will be quite a short episode, the next one, but it will be my first time inside a Mandarake store. So stay tuned for that, but there is still so much more to come in this series. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you can stay up to date on all my videos. And of course, if you want to show some love, give this video a like, leave a comment, and until next time, I'm SimpleSimon. Tell your friends and keep it simple.